Welcome, everybody. Sorry for the wait this afternoon. Coach, a little more time for a core group of players. What did you see in them? And then for the guys who are getting readjusted to getting more minutes, what also did you see on their performance today?
Yeah, it was a really nice opportunity to give some of the guys a little bit of extra time. I think it was 7 outfield players in the end, got up to 60 minutes. And to be honest, the whole group are in a really good physical place. Wonderful to be back here, though. The surface was immaculate. Louisville were very, very competitive. And it was, really almost a perfect preseason game where you get an awful lot out of it on both sides of the ball. Unfortunately, no goals for either team. So, bit of work to be done in the final third, but all in all, a really good afternoon's work.
We're all going to open the room for questions. Tim, go ahead.
Hey, Gary, when you look at where you guys are in the preseason, are you still in the kind of get guys back to fitness stage? Are you trying to, try out some new guys? How are you balancing the various different things that are your priorities with a preseason match?
Well, there's always going to be that backdrop of getting up to the 90-minute mark and players being not just fit enough to play 90 minutes, but sharp enough. Those changes of pace and that ability to threaten beyond. And we've got some really good explosive dimensions to the group now. So, getting to that point is always a little bit of a challenge. Today, as we looked at the plan of action and moving back down to Florida in a few days' time, there were some guys that we felt could push on a little bit longer. There will certainly be more of those guys as we get into the Florida period again. But all in all, it's a case of trying to connect the dots now in some of the work that's been going on. Some of the defensive work, very decent, pressing, we're getting there. Certainly a lot of intensity and energy. Some really good possession. Just looking for those moments now where you can break lines, be more creative, and find that little bit of a change of pace in the final third that's going to make a difference. And of course, the icing on the cake is the finishing. Some moments today that we might well have taken a little bit more advantage of, but not to be. We'll keep working at that.
As you guys go through your multiple phases of preseason here, what do you get other than, I guess, guys being able to sleep in their own beds out of the week that you guys spend at home before going back down to Florida? And I guess the match being in your home stadium as well.
Well, yeah, this is, I think, for me, the most important element of this week back in Nashville. Ideal today, good timing. Great to be back in our home surrounds again. Facilities that we had down in Tampa were very decent, but nothing beats playing on a surface and in your own stadium as we've got here. I think the remainder of the week that we have, trying to navigate the weather is always a bit of a difficulty for us this time of year. But I think all in all, it's always nice to have a period where you can break up the preseason. We had a good 2.5 weeks. I think if you go any longer than that, the guys and certainly staff members can start to get a little bit bogged down. You're away from home for a little bit too long. So to have those little breaks, go back down there again, get away from some of the inclement weather and the cold weather that we have had here and find some very competitive games down there that will take us into those final stages and towards New York City.
I've got a couple more, Chris, if that's okay.
There you go for them.
This was the first competitive action that Shaq has had in a friendly so far this preseason. What did you think of his, return to playing against another team? And then I don't believe we have seen Elliot Panico yet. Is that the case? And then what's his status?
Yeah, I mean, as far as Shaq is concerned, we've been a little bit more cautious with him, and he's built into the minutes purely because he came back a tad later after the World Cup, and because of the type of explosive elements to his game. Just a little bit more concern there. I thought he was terrific for 30 minutes. Gives the group such a different dimension. So it was lovely to see that 30 minutes. He actually built into that. We did some work Saturday. We did 220s in training. Very different to what we competitively would have got out of today. But slowly but surely, we're getting him there. So he's feeling a lot better. Elliot has had one or two little issues. Nothing outrageous, but just purely along the he got a bang on the head. We're just taking some serious precautions with somebody that has had problems before. He's not had anywhere near the same sort of reaction as he had in the past, but precaution, totally. We've still got plenty of time and want to make sure he's in the right place.
And then as you look to next week's Orlando friendly, as I look at your schedule real quick here, what are some of the things that you want to continue building on as you move through this phase of preseason? I know you already mentioned maybe a couple issues in front of goal. Is there anything else that you're really focusing on from an on-field perspective rather than just fitness as you guys approach the opener in late February?
Yeah, strangely enough, I think the focus as we move towards the Orlando game is to look a little bit closer at some of those connections, build in a little bit more pressure, changes of pace, and some of that link play that you might see, or creating moments and bodies in the box to be effective. So it's not that will happen immediately from there. But you're just planting seeds in players' minds again as you work through this preseason program. So, as I said, the dots that need to be connected, some of the foundations are in place. We need to keep reinforcing them. And hopefully, as one or two of these guys get closer to match sharpness, we'll see something a little bit more natural, especially in the attacking half of the field.
And then this will be the last one, Chris. Some of the new guys that you guys have added this offseason, you talked about Fafa last time around. Who's kind of stood out to you as a guy like, hey, this might be somebody who you can really expect to contribute this year?
Well, we've seen some of these younger players come in, and I think predominantly a lot of those guys are going to be working their way through Huntsville. I don't think any of them are at that point where they can threaten a lot of these guys in the first team. We've been able to add Fafa, as you say, as some serious competition for the guys that we have here. And I think it gives us a wonderful dimension that I do believe will get better and better as we see him in the group. Unfortunately, probably the other biggest signing of the off-season, unless someone can correct me, is Nick Dupai, who we've not seen an awful lot of. He's had a bit of a calf issue. So we're taking, some time to get him back into the group. Outside of that, you're looking at guys that are really trying to find their feet and get a competitive look at being around what is a really strong group. These guys have, in the last 3 years, have got through an awful lot. They've got a lot of experience, not only together, but in some of the difficulties they've had to get through. And that galvanizes a team. So to break into the group now is not easy for anyone. It's been lovely to see some of those bodies, but I think in all honesty, it's going to be very, very difficult for some of those younger guys to make a difference at this point.
We have one final question from a familiar face. Mr. Husband, take us home.
Hi, Gary. It was actually two very quick ones, if you don't mind. Shape-wise, how did it look, and what did you make of having Fafa and Jacob in your starting 11? And just briefly as well, obviously Dave Romney has gone. Walker will be away from time to time this season. I know you liked what you saw from Josh Bauer in pre-season last year. How has he got on alongside Jack Mayer?
Yeah, I'll take the Fafa one first, Tony, and great to speak to you. I know we texted this morning, and pleased to see and hear that you're in good shape. Fafa, I think Fafa gives us an almost identical look on that right-hand side to what we've been seeing from Jacob in those final sort of moments, final third of the season last year. A really dynamic look, lots of threat in behind, pace and energy. And the one thing that I think we've, had to really take a little bit more stock of is without the ball, what does that look like? How can Fafa put himself in a world that I'm not sure he's used to, of giving the team the sort of dynamic shape and look and stability that we've seen for so often and so much from this team. But one thing is for sure, you can see already with those two guys on either flank, it's starting to open up areas even more so for the likes of Hanny, Till predominantly today. And there was some really nice flank play that we saw in that first half. Josh has done a really nice job. We've already seen Walker, of course, in camp. And to your point, I'm sure we'll be without him on the odd occasion. Josh is growing, not only with his game, but in stature and confidence. But what I do have to say is that Jack has, I think, stepped up to the plate, looks very assured, and he's really looking forward to the challenge this year. And I'm sure he's seen an opportunity open up to earn more time and minutes. And I've obviously hoped that Nick is going to be in a much stronger position to challenge for minutes once the season unfolds. But, right now, as we work through what we could class as the middle point of pre-season, there's a lot of things to be encouraged about. The team's in a good place, and looking forward to getting what might look like a starting group together as we move into the Tampa St. Pete element of pre-season in about a week or so's time.
Thank you, everybody. We look forward to joining you next week after our next pre-season match. Have a lovely day.
Thanks, guys.